Good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, I want to say this is the biggest screen I've used for a presentation, right? Okay, I'll be looking at exploring African perspective on geoengineering. Quick one. Okay, we are back to the end. Okay, first we want to talk about the general arguments we have of a dying world. We are familiar with this, but as much as possible for those that are not, this is the general argument that the world is dying. And the arguments of the world dying, we said that it is caused by human activities. And these activities generally is relating to greenhouse gases. The emission of greenhouse gases are leading to the increase in temperature. This is the background, right? And we said that the increase in temperature leads to climate change. And with climate change comes the frequency of extreme events. If you were privileged to be in the session before now, with the president, the ambassador, and the senator, we talked about the whole implication it has for the Caribbean states and the island states and the likes. And I'm coming from the space of Africa, the same for the entirety of the developing world as it stands. So yeah, basically that's the background. And if you look at the progression when it comes to the increase in temperature, you realize that if we do not, this is the IPC progression, and it talks about the fact that when it comes to emission, you realize that there's a continuous increase in the graph when it comes to emission targets, and then there are different scenarios that have been painted that if we do this, these are the progression over time, right? And the same thing also applies to temperature. You realize that as the greenhouse gases emission is increasing, so is the temperature progression increasing. There has been, these are the different scenarios in which it is painted. And the argument is that temperature will continuously increase even if we stop greenhouse gas emission. There will be a continuous increase in temperature. This itself is scary because when we talk about climate change, we always, and we talk about greenhouse gas emission, the argument is always, let's stop greenhouse gas emission. But we're already in the tipping point whereby, regardless of what we do now, temperature will continue. And the implication of that is that the frequency of extreme events will definitely is now a reality as it stands. So what's the natural step if we need to even reduce temperature? So to keep temperature at the 1.5 degree, 2 degree target, what we need to do, if we need to do this, is that there has to be a yearly emission decrease of 5% globally to keep the emission at 1.5 degree, and then there has to be a yearly emission decrease of 3% to keep emission at 2 degree respectively. So that's the argument. But the question is that, is this visible? Is this reality visible? And with the conversation on this reality is visible, from the last presentation, you realize that there are several pros and cons, different issues in which policymakers are looking at to decide the action and inaction in which will carry geopolitical implications and economic implications of carrying out these actions. So where we stand is that the visibility of that is almost difficult to achieve. So one of the climate intervention strategies that has been developed is where I'm coming from, geoengineering as a climate intervention strategy. So you ask yourself, what is geoengineering in itself? In simple terms, it's just the use of machine technologies to mitigate or to reduce the impact of climate change, right? To reduce temperature for climate change. And then in simple terms, I always say that when you talk about geoengineering, just imagine this room. Imagine if we can heat up this room if it's cold, or reduce the temperature using AC, right? So now imagine if we can do that for the entirety of the world. That's a layman understanding, but that's a picture of what geoengineering in itself implies. It is not a permanent solution, but it is to give us time so that we can think on better solutions in which we carry out. And when we talk about geoengineering, there are basically two broad types of geoengineering. We have the carbon dioxide removal, and we have the solar radiation management. So this picture here are the different ways in which the proposals that have been that are currently under research on how we can use machine technologies to reduce the increase in temperature. When you look at solar radiation management, for instance, we talk about the fact that we should increase the reflectivity of the sun. The implication of that is that they should develop a giant mirror and put in the sky that reflects the sun back to the outer space. That way it creates some level of cooling in the earth. That's one example. Another example is the use of chemicals, pouring chemicals down in the sky, so that it creates artificial clouds, and then itself also creates cooling in the earth. So these are different proposals that have been set out when it comes to geoengineering, right? Like I said, it is not the ultimate, but it is seen as a last exit strategy in addressing global warming. Now, with geoengineering, the imagination probably most of us we have now is the fact that how visible is this? The research in itself on this is largely unclear. It's an idea that has been proposed, and there's still argument as relating to how to go about it. And with new ideas like this, there are opposing views as relating to what should we do, right? Should we go about this? So the first issue we have with geoengineering is the fact that most people are unaware of what geoengineering is. And if we take a sample even in this group, it is almost clear that 70% of the people in this group, it is possible you are just hearing geoengineering for the first time, right? And so imagine if we, within this space, are not aware, then imagine what is happening in the general population and then among policymakers in itself. And then second is the risky nature of that. If we reflect the sun back to the sun, and we change the natural setting of the sun and the sea and the lights, what is the implication for humans? We are yet to know the collateral damage that will lead to. And then the moral hazard that comes with that. Some people will argue that this is we playing God, right? If we can do that, is it okay for us to play God, right? Or that's on the religious side. And then the moral aspect in the sense of who is going to be responsible for what, right? What is the geopolitical implication of actually carrying out this particular solution? So a lot of talking points. But the interesting thing is that this conversation around whatever inclination that we just spoke about, any of these inclinations, is almost always discussed in the global north. The conversation is not in the global south. And you will agree with me that the implication of climate change, the direct implication of climate change, the first collateral, okay. Okay, so you will agree with me that the global south will be affected the most. But we don't talk about it within the global south. And that's where my research is all about. And courtesy of a small grant I got with SHAG, I was able to carry out a perspective study in Africa to look at, okay, so I'll just jump on my methodology and just scan through and just, okay, so Okay, so the idea is that we want to understand the trend in the global south, right? How viable is this in the global south? What is the perception of people as relating to geoengineering in the global south? Will it be acceptable in the global south? And I use what I refer to as the listening theory, right? To say that there has to be conversation. The ambassador spoke about that this morning, in the fact that there has to be storytelling. There has to be conversation from the grassroots, right? Not science policy or top-down approach in which we carry out. So I set out to interview, I was told it was ambitious, to distribute survey among 5,400 participants in Africa. We were able to get 4,415 respondents, and we carried out a descriptive and thematic analysis. What we discovered is that when it comes to the discourse on climate change, a large chunk of people are aware of what climate change is. But a large chunk of people are unaware, the pink slide, of what geoengineering is, which is in itself is a concern. And then we asked if they will agree to the use of geoengineering if it is not harmful. A large chunk of people said yes. And we also asked if they feel there is an excuse. That also was carried. And so basically these are our reports. So in conclusion, from what we noticed from the preliminary studies in which we have carried out, we realized that there's a need for more proactiveness in governance and in interaction within the global south. We need to come to the engagement when it comes to this discourse, because the implication of this arrangement, if it is carried out, has a direct effect on us. So for that reason, we need to talk more about it, both within the academia and also within the community. Thank you very much.